UFC Abu Dhabi just ended, and I'm going to give you guys my entire recap of this fight card. This was actually a super fun fight night. Started at 9 a.m. my time in Arizona. So started off really early, but got all the way through this card. And yeah, a lot of mixed reactions, a lot of random things that happened that I was not expecting, and I'm sure a lot of other creators were not expecting as well. I am going to go through the main event all the way down to the first fight on the card. So starting off in the main event, guys, what do you have? Everyone, there's a lot of people picked RDR to win this fight. I did not do that. I picked Robert Whittaker. I thought Robert Whittaker's striking would be too much for RDR. And I think one of the things that is frustrating about loving Robert Whittaker, being a fan of Robert Whittaker at times, is it's like he had it right there. He had that finish. He was about to get the finish. I feel like when he went for the finish, though, he should have disengaged from the ground. He landed a few ground and pound shots that looked pretty good. And then he kept trying to land them. And I feel like that is what emptied the rest of whatever gas he had left. And maybe if he had disengaged, had RDR stand up right away, he could have landed another cracking right hand and maybe dropped him again for good. But guys, hindsight is 2020, right? I feel like the fight was super close. I do think after watching the fight, even though I'm a fan of Robert, I'm also a fan of RDR, but a bigger fan of Robert. And I picked Robert to win. I still think RDR should have got the win. I don't think it was a robbery. I feel like optically, RDR looked better, didn't look as fatigued as Robert, although he did get dropped. I think Robert you could tell that the fight was wearing on him, and he gassed out. And it is what it is, guys. It was a very close fight, a very competitive fight. I'd say it was a fun fight as well. It was fun to watch. Had me on the edge of my seat for most of the time because it was very back and forth. I think if you went round by round, round one probably goes to Robert. Round two definitely is RDR's. Round three, I think, is a toss-up round because you had Robert get tagged by RDR, and he started to run backwards. And guys, it was almost, you could literally edit when Dreykus finished Robert. It was the same exact sequence where it's like Robert gets tagged in the center of the cage and exits, runs backwards, and then luckily for Robert, RDR grabbed clinch against the cage instead of what Dreykus did, who went right to the body and then started landing some other heavy shots. Robert was able to survive, but then land his own overhand right, knocking RDR to the ground. And that's where arguably it goes to either guy based on that. I feel like that round should be Robert's just based off that overhand right. Round four, I think you have to give to RDR only because he was just more busy. I think he was advancing, pushing him back. And then round five, I think it was also pretty close. But once again, you had RDR being that guy that, at the very end of the round, guys, it said significant strikes was 11-10 on the side of Robert Whittaker. He had one more. But then in the last 10 seconds, RDR threw, a few strikes, which it's that could be just enough in that round. It was so close. Ultimately, a great fight. I am going to, I'll make one of my Matchmaking Tuesday videos so you guys will see who I feel like each fighter should be matched up with next. So I won't belabor that point here. Let's go ahead and jump into the next fight on the card, which is Marcus McGee versus Petr Yan. This was a fun fight too, guys. So obviously I feel like this absolutely was Petr Yan's fight from start to finish. He not only was pushing the pace, landing strikes at will, but what I really liked, though, is although Petr was in control of this fight pretty much from the start all the way to the close, Marcus McGee was a dog, and he went out there and he did his best to scrap with Petr, landed some heavy shots on him as well, did his best in those striking exchanges, but I think Petr Yan was just the cleaner, more technical striker, was able to continuously put it on Marcus McGee, also was able to escape in a lot of different scenarios where Marcus was trying to land certain shots, maybe land an elbow, and you would just see Petr Yan kind of evade and circle out and then land his own shots. So very technical performance from both men. I do think Marcus McGee deserves some respect for just putting it all out there and really trying his best to hurt and win those striking exchanges with Petr Yan. I just think he was outmatched in that skill set because Petr Yan is a master of boxing in Russia, guys. This dude is no motherfucking joke when it comes to the hands. So Petr Yan had a great win. And what is great for Petr is that in his next matchup, and you'll see this in my matchmaking video, maybe I'll give you guys one, Petr Yan, in my opinion, regardless of what happens, if Merab wins or if Corey wins, I think I think Petr Yan is perfect to jump in there for the next title shot because he has history with both men, has a win over Corey, so Corey would probably be looking to get a defense for the belt should he beat Merab. But then also Merab and Petr had a fight back in 2023, I think it was. And so Petr is going to be wanting to get that back from Merab. So it's a very interesting setup for him. And I think he's definitely well deserving of that shot, especially giving a lower ranked contender a crack at his number 2 spot. And Umar Nurmagomedov does not fucking deserve a title shot. He needs to fight somebody else. And I think he's booked with Mario Bautista. But even then, I don't think that Umar should just get penciled right back in there. Just because he had a competitive fight with Merab doesn't mean you just get one fight. I mean, yeah, you could argue Sean O'Malley did, but if you really look at it, Sean O'Malley had way more fights before he got to that point. Like, he had several different fights with non-ranked or lower-ranked opponents. And I know that Umar did too, but Umar really has one win over a top 25 guy. That's it, over Corey Sandhagen. He hasn't beat anybody else. So, and like Sean O'Malley at the time, he beat Raulian Paiva, who was ranked in the top 15, and stole his ranking. And then he got that shot at Petr Yan, which even that is arguable and it should not be something that just happens. But I could see people arguing Umar should just get a rematch because Sean did. So it is what it is. But Petr Yan, in my opinion, guys, is that rightful number 1 contender after Corey. So that is my opinion. In our next fight on the card, we had Sharabutin versus Marc-Andre Barriault. This was a good fight. I think Shara at first seemed to get his groove early, but then it seemed like Mark was having success getting him backed up against the cage and landing shots. Ultimately ends up landing that, I think it was like an overhand right that tags Shara, hurts him, makes him bleed, then started landing some uppercuts in the clinch on the fence. So Marc-Andre didn't go out there to be a bitch, but I think Shara did his job with those kicks. You know what I mean? He was landing those leg kicks at will, really welting up that leg, and wilting Andre Barriault, I think, in terms of just his overall longevity in this fight. Like, as the fight went on, you could see Marc-Andre Barriault was cracking more and more, and Shara had a great performance. I don't think this performance, though, is, like, noteworthy of, like, a super high contender just yet. I think that Shara is, like, he's really good, guys, but I think where he has issues, at least in my opinion, is he uses his kicks super well, but he's not using his boxing enough. Like, when there was a lot of times where Mark was closing that distance on him, and he really didn't have much from the kicking game. So you saw him continuously circling with the back against the cage, trying to get out of that tight space, which Shara normally does pretty well. But in this case, I feel like he was trapped up against that cage a little bit too much. I would like to see him use his hands more. But it was nice to see him throw a couple elbows when he did have some of those moments. But I just feel like he needs to throw more hands, especially in tight. And it's actually perfect for his build. He actually has a pretty short reach based on how tall he is. So I feel like in those closer range attacks, he should be able to put some hands on the opponent and land something. But ultimately, it was a great performance from him. He did convincingly beat Marc-Andre Barriault. But Marc-Andre Barriault, I think, did a good job with the tools that he has. Would have liked to see him be a bit more active in his striking. It seemed like for a lot of the times he was kind of just taking pictures, trying to walk him down, but taking pictures, not actually throwing any shots that were of note. And so you got to give it to Shara. Shara gets the win. Good win for Shara. The next fight on the card, we've got Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov. This fight was a really good fight. It was competitive at the start. You had Nikita Krylov come out with a lot more higher guard, which was really cool to see because that tells me, he obviously went back to the well and realized that in his last fight, having that low guard and that skirmish type style where he kind of runs in and just gets caught on the chin, he realized it seems like there were some holes there that he needed to patch up. And so I guess it was good to see him start off that way. But ultimately, Bogdan Guskov, looking like the marauder version of Anthony Smith, just did such a great job at, managing distance. He did get hit a couple times by Krylov, but He managed distance well, and then he timed a perfect right hand as Krylov tried to throw a naked leg kick, which, guys, if you've seen me play UFC 5, you can't just throw the naked leg kick, because I do that in UFC 5 and I get dropped all the time from it. And in real life, it happened. You have Krylov throwing that naked leg kick, and as he does that, Guskov's got that right hand locked and loaded, fires it off. Nikita Krylov actually saw it coming, but it was just too powerful. He caught it on the side of the head, fell to the ground, and then Guskov went and finished it off with that ground and pound. He had Krylov face down, ass up in the mat. It's unfortunate. So Guskov looking really good, though, guys. Really excited to see what happens with him next. Krylov, I think, needs to take some time off here. I know he was out for a while, so he's just trying to get back in there, and I get it, especially when this is like how these guys make money. But you worry a lot, though, because of the damage he took in his last fight, and then coming back in there with a guy who hits this hard. It's almost like it's poor matchmaking on his side, I feel. So I feel for him, but I think Krylov is still a really good fighter, a really experienced fighter at that as well. He can come back from this, I know, but I don't know if he'll be in title contention. I do think that he's a good test for some of these up-and-coming light heavyweights, however. So it'll be fun to see where he goes in his next fight as well. The next fight on the card, we had Asu Amabayev versus Jose Ochoa. So this was a fun fight, a very back and forth, I would say, a bit of a technical war, if you will. Jose Ochoa was doing a great job at trying to land those kill shots, especially from that southpaw stance. But Asu Amabayev, I think, showed off his grit and also his veteran status, having more fights under his belt. Just was able to deal with some of that tricky striking that Jose Ochoa brought to this fight. And I think Asu Amabayev, though, it was close enough, guys, to where I could see from a damage perspective, maybe it going Jose Ochoa's way. But I think you have to take into account that Asu Amabayev really was the aggressor from a grappling standpoint, getting Jose in certain situations where Jose had to kind of fight out of it or throw up a submission attempt. And of course, guys, as we know, submission attempts don't really count for shit, especially from a scoring perspective. Like, you're not going to win points by having a submission attempt. It never happens. I feel like we never see a fighter on the ground get more points for throwing up an arm triangle, throwing up an arm bar. Like, they don't get points for that. And also, as we know, you don't get points for stopping takedowns, which is very, very annoying to me. Like, if you're a fighter whose entire game is takedowns and a striker stops every single one of those takedowns, it can be very annoying to me that you're not getting any type of points for that. Now, that doesn't even really apply to this fight, guys, because although Jose Ochoa did stop a few takedowns, he was taken down several times. I just think that you have to give it to Asu based on that control time. And Asu Amabayev did land a head kick. He landed a few big shots in his own right. So you can't just say it was a blowout in terms of striking on the side of Jose. I think it was close. Jose definitely landed, I think, the heavier and better strikes. But Asu Amabayev was landing heavy strikes and mixing in the grappling very well. So overall, great scrap for these guys. Jose Ochoa is just going to be better from this fight, I think. And I think he is in that... He's in that realm of, becoming a top contender pretty soon, I think. Just especially showing off his skill set against Asu Amabayev. The next fight on the card, one of the biggest underdogs of the night, guys. Muslim Salikhov goes out there and just starches Carlos Leal. That was a really, really great win for him, and I have so much respect for him. Being 41 years old, going out there against Carlos Leal, who's looked like a marauder against these other guys. Like, Feratinkinov, he beat the hell out of. The next guy, Alex Morono, beat the hell out of. So it was really cool to see Salikhov not only be backed against the cage and not have his kicking that we know is his main arsenal, but to be able to not have that but still land a kill shot. It was a fantastic, I think it was like a right hook. It was like a blend of a right hook / overhand, I would say. Landed like right on the fucking side of the head, forehead. Knocked Carlos Leal down, and that was all she wrote. Like, Carlos Leal was out. So wonderful, wonderful KO for Salikhov. I do love his call out as well against Wonderboy. I think that would be a very fun fight. And I don't know who I would pick because I think Salikhov is still snappy and fast with kicks. I think Wonderboy is the cleaner striker. But Salikhov proved tonight that he is not a guy to sleep on, especially when going up against a young, hungry prospect like Leal. Also, shout out to Bedtime MMA, the only creator to pick Muslim Salikov, and he got it right. So good on him. That was a good pick. The next fight on the card, we got Amanda Ribas versus Tabitha Ricci. So, guys, this fight started off really competitive. I think Tabitha Ricci did exactly what she always does. She, tried to crash in from that distance, get her opponent against the cage, and take control from that point. And that is what she tried to do in round one, but I feel Amanda Ribas did a great job circling out, staying at range, landing and peppering some of those pop shots, like the jab straight, not really trying to put too much mustard on it, but just tag her a little bit. I definitely give Amanda Ribas round one based on that. But Tabitha Ricci goes out there in round two, does the same thing, gets her against the cage, gets an elbow into her eye socket, and Amanda Ribas said no mas, fell to the ground. Tabitha Ricci just started wailing on her, and that is all she wrote. So Tabitha Ricci had a really big statement win there against Amanda Ribas. Really fun to see where she goes next, because I think now she's 12-3, and now probably a higher ranking on her side with a win over Amanda Ribas. So she'll be continuing to rise up, and we'll see what her next fight and next matchup looks like. Amanda Ribas, it's unfortunate, had a good showing at first, but she got caught on the eye, and then that was it. So not sure where she goes from here, but nonetheless, I think it was a competitive fight as it was going. But Tabitha Ricci able to find that shot that put the lights out. So good on her. The next fight on the card, we got Davey, Norman Osborne, Willem Dafoe, Grant versus Damon Blackshear. Guys, this was a wonderful scrap. I was very, very, very pleased to see my boy Davey Grant go out there and do his work. Round one, obviously, I think you have to give to Damon Blackshear. He does his best to get Davey to the ground, and he holds him there. Has a few transitions, tries to get a few submissions off, isn't able to succeed with any of them. But Davey Grant comes back in round two and just puts it on him, starts landing some heavy body hooks, really nasty body hooks, landing body hook combo to the head, just mixing up his attacks all the time, mixing up his stances, moving on the outside. This was a picturesque Davey Grant performance, guys. This is how Davey Grant wins fights. He's a very tricky striker for people to figure out, and that's exactly what we saw in this fight. I think Damon Blackshear just did not have the tools. A little bit plotty. And guys, the thing that I picked Davey Grant not only because of Davey Grant's striking game, his ability to move, his footwork. I also feel like Damon Blackshear is a fighter who consistently gasses out, especially after the first round. If you watched his last fight where people were gassing up his striking, he did look good in his last fight. He gassed out though. By round three, he was throwing labored, 1-2s, labored body kicks. Like, he was very, very tired in his last fight. And I just felt like against a Davey Grant who's consistently moving and you're going to be kind of trying to track down, you are going to gas out, especially when you take into account that he was mixing in the grappling. It's no wonder that he gassed out in this fight. So ultimately, Davey Grant has a wonderful performance. Mr. 39 years old out there still proving a point, looking like Wonder Boy at the split shin as well. So ultimately, very happy for Davey Grant. He's a great fighter. It'll be fun to see who he gets matched up with next. And the next fight on the card, we got Billy Elikana versus Ibo Aslan. This fight, guys, was probably the worst fight on the card. Both guys seem to have a ton of respect for each other's games. And so you saw a bit of a Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis moment. Both guys gun shy. Billy Elikana, I think, being the more active fighter the entire time. But both guys really not doing much to stake their claim over the other guy. I definitely feel Billy Elikana should have got the win. I feel like he was the more active fighter, actively trying to land strikes, whereas Aslan just seemed to be taking pictures the whole time. And guys, that's what losses do to people. I think Paul Felder said that. Sometimes when these guys have a loss, especially prospects who have had a very dominant performances in their careers, you end up having this weird situation. It's like the same thing that happened to Pavlovich after Tom Aspinall knocked him out. He's just been like a different type of fighter. So ultimately, Billy Elikana gets it done. But like I said, not a great showing for these guys. I think that both guys fight and have had way more interesting fights than this. So it'll be interesting to see where they go next, but nothing really to write home about in terms of a performance from either guy. And the next fight on the card, we got Stephen Wynn versus Muhammad Yahya. This fight, my God, dude, Muhammad Yahya's eye was fucking destroyed. But this dude, I got to give him credit. While his eye's fucking destroyed, he still lands a right hand that almost knocks out Stephen Wynn, which is crazy. But Stephen Wynn beat the record with the most knockdowns, which in my opinion should have been 7 knockdowns. That first knockdown that he said was a slip was 1000% not a slip. He got dropped. Like, I'm so sick and tired of the UFC doing this shit where you land a strike on your opponent, they fall, and it's a slip. That makes no sense to me. If you make contact with your opponent and they fall down, you can't call that a slip. A slip to me is like if you are not in contact with the opponent and you fall. Like, that's a slip. When you get hit and fall, it's a knockdown. So it's very simple to me. But he got 6 knockdowns in this fight. Muhammad Yahya, right away, guys, he did actually look a lot quicker than he did in his previous fight. But I did say he's a fighter that, although at this weight class, he plods around. He has, I don't even know if it's poor footwork. He just is ploddy on the feet. He doesn't really like move that quickly. And I felt like Stephen Wynn would be able to not only land those leg kicks, but land a fast 1-2, maybe land that right hand and drop him. And that's exactly what happened, like right at the start of the fight. And I think Muhammad Yahya was playing catch up the entire time. Ultimately, Stephen Wynn batters him and they have to call the fight because, you know, Muhammad Yahya's fucking eye was the most swollen I've ever seen. It was actually gross to see. I hope that his eye recovers. I hope his face recovers. Stephen Wynn had a great win. And it'll be fun to see where he goes next because he is a skilled fighter. Even though his last fight he didn't win before this, he still looked really good, had moments in that fight. So be interesting to see what happens next with him. And I think Muhammad Yahya is probably done in the UFC. And then, guys, finally, the first fight on the card, which, yeah, Marcus Buchecha is still shown as the lock character here, and maybe rightfully so, because I feel like this was a horrible fight for him. He did not look that great. He looked labored. He looked tired. Martin Buday just did his thing, landed his shots on the feet. Although there was a few scrappy moments where Buchecha landed something and was able to get Buday to the ground in the later rounds, I just don't think this was a solid performance whatsoever from Marcus Buchecha. I feel like because all of myself and all the other creators in the pick tracker picked Buchecha to win, it was very... Honestly, I'm shaming myself for like going with that and not believing in Martin Buday. So that's my own issue. And I hope other creators feel that way too, because none of us believed in Martin Buday and he went out there and proved us all wrong. A good win for Martin Buday. Really did a good job at nullifying takedowns when he needed to. Did a great job at landing on the feet and ultimately making Marcus Buchecha work harder than he needed to, which I believe is really what led to Martin Buday getting the nod in this fight. Marcus Buchecha was gassed the fuck out in that last round. Every shot that landed, I thought he could go down. So Martin Buday had a great performance. Marcus Buchecha, yeah, I don't know what happens next with him, but he's definitely going to have to fight some lower rankings in the heavyweights. He's not ready, I don't think, based on that performance. And that's just my opinion. Ultimately, guys, this fight card was fun. I would say probably 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it. It's really weird when fights are at this time because usually for me they happen later in the day, of course, but being in Arizona today, it started at 9 a.m. And now it's 4 o'clock, so it's like feels really weird because it's like you still have the rest of the night, but the fight's already over. So ultimately 7.5 out of 10 for my side. Let me know what you guys thought of this fight card. Also, let me know if there were any standout performances that you thought were crazy. I definitely think Muslim Salikov getting a KO was probably the highlight of the night. But a lot of fun fights and a lot of fun scraps. Really excited to pull together my matchmaking video, which I will share Tuesday. And guys, if you're looking for that pick tracker update, it will be out this Monday. Just a heads up, we as a collective group didn't do that great, but I'll give you a little sneak peek if you're still watching. MMA Experts had the highest score on this card, 9-3 on their picks. So very good job from them. But yeah, like I said, you'll see the full update this Monday. Make sure you are subscribed to Fight Feed if you aren't already, and give this video a like if you enjoyed. I appreciate it, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.